All right, we're going.
All right, so back again for the third one. Ken's laughing at my cans that I got on here.
Yeah, I love that.
That's just funny how you just said that, too.
Yeah.
You're laughing at my cans?
We're laughing at Todd's cans.
Well, that whole weight
Yummy
loss
cans.
gives you cans.
Do what?
Yeah,
a little bit.
You're looking good.
I'm getting there.
Yeah, you're looking good.
Slowly but surely. So, no, I like these. I like these headphones you got me, Graham. These are nice.
Yeah, they are. You look like you're like a World War II pilot.
Yeah.
Don't they look like throwback?
Yeah,
radar operator maybe or
like
something.
you should be sitting like in a gunner's turret or something like that.
Hey, that'd be a good position to be in.
It was.
That.
Well, so speaking of gunner's turrets,
Yeah,
we had a successful airstrike
we did
2 days ago, right, in Somalia.
Khalid the Sand Spider.
Yeah,
or whatever his name was.
That was
No,
that
that was from True Lies.
True Lies.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
Why
was.
do they call him that? Because it sounds scary.
I'll go with that.
But no, successful drone strike in Somalia. They wiped him out. Mark 82 smart bomb or something along those lines. I'm
killed
sure.
2 of them, 2 leaders. They were they're responsible for organization and replenishment and planning. So hey,
Did they say what group they were part of?
they did. I just don't recall.
Al-Shabaab or something like that?
Yeah, it's one of those. Yeah, it's a franchise.
Well, I mean, when you get into Africa, you get into
for
whole
sure.
different groups of guys.
It's great. It was in the northern part of Somalia, if that helps.
And they're just the groups over there they operate way differently than Al Qaeda.
Oh, sure.
Al Qaeda over like in Iraq and Afghanistan.
I'm sure it's still very tribalistic and whatnot, right?
I'm thinking it's like very African tribalistic.
And that's what I was driving at.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the vacation package when you go there for training. It really, I mean, if you think about it, no, I can't go with those guys. They eat this, I don't eat that.
I want to be on the red team.
Yeah, but yeah, so that's our victory news for the day, which is always.
I feel good about it. It really does. Anytime you can blow one of them jackholes up, I feel like I've had a solid day.
I'm just curious though, and I'm going to go ahead and say it, but I'm just wondering how Ms. Omar is going to respond to that.
Yeah. Some people somewhere died in Africa. What do you think about that, Ms. Omar?
Yeah. Now, because you have so many internal groups within Congress that are looking that not attacks, but operations like that fall under their purview.
Mm-hmm.
My whole deal with her, particularly because I still don't really fully believe where her loyalties are, and that's just my belief. That her having any kind of visibility or decision making when it comes to like operations overseas, I was like, she needs to not be a part of that.
Do you really think she even reads that? I mean, I'm sure she gets the report and like the eyes glaze over, and it's like, oh, I'm in America.
It's hard to say because I'm not going to discount her intelligence at all.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that she's extremely motivated and very clever.
Okay.
No,
I'm not denying that. I just having just a thought.
No. I don't disagree with you. I would find it hard to believe that she would be a part of that package, that team.
Yeah.
I would think that her oversight would be limited from that.
But here we are.
Yeah.
She's actually part of one of the committees that I think she might be part of the foreign intelligence.
She is.
And which to me is like, my God, there's like all kinds of wrong with that. And how my metrics work. So.
Well, yeah, when you got CARE and you've got not the Aryan Brotherhood, the
brown version of the Aryan Brotherhood.
Yeah, I forget what it's called, but the something Brotherhood, and when you
Muslim Brotherhood.
Muslim Brotherhood. There you go.
Yeah,
when you have that, you kind of wonder how that ties in.
Well, with her, because you really can't. I don't know how this really works, but I can't think of a congressional member that doesn't have some sort of level of clearance.
Sorry, but after you said that, Ken, I don't mean to interrupt you, but now all I can think of is Heil Hitler, come again, thank you, come again.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
But, having a level of clearance and being able to see, operations in the planning phase. So
no doubt, yeah, and you hope that she doesn't ever. But yeah, so I mean, that's always good to know that we're doing our best to keep this at bay.
Yeah,
because you sit there and you look at the border situation. You start looking at some of the things that are rolling up in there. I just saw a story the other day. They were concerned about people from Senegal having Ebola.
Yeah.
There's actually a quarantine.
They're finding that down on the border in Texas now.
Yeah, and I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. I thought this was a Mexican immigration. This is starting to sound like it's more of a global port of entry to the United States.
Well, and if you're listening to the reports that are coming out of DHS and stuff like that they're running on the news, this is not like some secret deal. They are seeing more and more foreigners from
Other
Asia,
countries,
Asia, from different continents, Asia, Africa.
So how do they get into Mexico?
That's a good question. I'm sure the cartels are bringing them in. I'm sure they've got money just like anybody else.
So there's a motivation then to flood our borders.
There's a monetary motivation from the Mexican side of it, or from the underbelly Mexican side.
There you
of
go.
it.
Okay, I just want to make that clear. So,
Yeah.
So Nancy Pelosi, when you're listening to our podcast tonight, take notes because you might learn something about what's going on at that border.
It is interesting. And speaking of the border, I saw something on the way over here today that really caught my eye. They had to release 1,000 people in Yuma, Arizona yesterday. I don't know if y'all caught this. It's kind of fresh news. But they're overwhelming the streets, and the mayor is calling for an emergency down in Yuma. He's like, there are people roaming the streets. They've got nowhere to go, and we're having conflict with everyday citizens. These people are just roaming the streets, and they turn them loose. They're like, so ICE...
Who turned them loose? So
the U.S. government, the border, the U.S. ICE and Border Patrol turned them loose. So... 1,000 people in the streets of Yuma that normally wouldn't be there. Yuma's not a huge town. It's not like a massive.
Is Yuma considered a sanctuary city?
It is now.
It is now. No, from what I understand, Yuma has not declared themselves as.
No.
But this goes back to Trump. Personally, if Trump wanted a victory here, I think he should drive a bus to Yuma and say, everybody get on the Greyhounds, drive them to San Francisco and say, everybody off the bus, you're home.
There you go. I would take him for a tour of Pelosi compound.
There you go. Drop them off right in front of her house.
Take her to Napa Valley. Take them all to Napa
like
Valley. Drop them off at the vineyard.
There's a built-in job there.
Yeah. There's grapes. There's figs. There's all kinds.
There's all kinds of things to eat.
Yeah, you can
eat.
Definitely. She's got plenty for everybody.
Wow, man, that would be a huge hit to that industry. If basically the grapes that are supposed to go into wines are suddenly just making their way into the bellies of the people that are roaming the
countryside.
Wow. Yeah.
No, I've got friends that are winemakers up there. Forgive us for suggesting this, but it could happen.
Well, like I said, it's definitely a crisis that's now become very real for most of the world that's looking at this. I mean, how many towns that are just towns, not cities, towns, could take on 1,000 extra people? I mean, think about that. You need facilities to dispense food, facilities to bathe people, medical.
Y'all remember that video a few weeks ago about this guy complaining about in Virginia or Tennessee, one of the two, where they tore down a funeral home and they tore down some other buildings to build these apartment complexes for these for these people they're bringing in from Somalia, and Yemen,
I believe, in Yemen
and Somalia. And they're doing this in small town America, knowing that they're less likely to get.
Well, and how many votes? How many votes are you losing when you do it to small town America?
Small towns. So I do have a question then. So Trump has basically said that he wants to release all these people into sanctuary cities.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a smart move?
Yes and no, because it pushes. The one thing that it does do is it pushes home the issue. It allows you not to dodge the issue and say we're a sanctuary city and we feel good.
Right.
It's making you put your money where your mouth is. If you want to be a sanctuary city, this is what it means to be a sanctuary city.
Right.
Now, does it benefit him in any particular way? Probably not.
Yeah, because I thought it was funny because Cher was the one that made the news lately about how she was talking about how we need to, America's for all these people, we need to take care of them. And then all of a sudden, when you want to talk about putting them in Malibu, she's like, wait a minute.
We have veterans we need to take care of.
Yeah, it's funny how they shift their focus when it comes to their backyard.
Let me sing you this other song of my people.
Right, because it goes back to George Carlin with the whole NIMBY thing.
Mm-hmm.
Not in my backyard.
Yeah.
I love to tell you what you're going to do in your neighborhood, but you can't tell me what you're going to do in my neighborhood.
It's funny you brought him up because, this was news I was catching on the way over. I was listening to a talk show, and they had... It was a conservative talk show, and the guy had what would be considered, I guess, a classical liberal in the sense of kind of the hippie liberal of live and let live, not the activist that we have now. And he was talking about this classic liberal was talking about how he's been pushed out of the liberal movement because of stuff that he'd made comments in the past. Like for example, he was commenting on the gay presidential candidate. I can't think of the guy's name off the top of my head, but everybody knows who I'm talking about.
I know who you're talking about, yeah.
So he made a comment about it, and they're like, well, this guy's probably not gay enough. We need to find somebody that's gayer. And he's like, how do we find anybody gayer? He brings his husband out in the public and introduces him as his husband.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm so taken aback by the whole. He was looking at it from the classical liberal perspective. He's like, I've lost my party. This is crazy.
I'm no longer accepted in the Kumbaya song circle.
That's he almost used those exact words, Graham. It was funny hearing him say that.
But hey, you know what? We're all in that same boat. It's not just liberals. Conservatives are the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, shit. Look at some of the stuff the conservative or the Republican Party polls. You got the rhinos, and you've got all this stuff going on. That
you do.
It's a mess. It's one of those things you just can't win. You know what's really sad about it though is that we talked about this last week. We got this young class of political professionals coming up.
Yeah.
And one that, I hate to say this, but this person is a person of distinction in the fact that she's probably talked about more than anybody.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of wondering if we should even do that, but it's just hard not to. She's like that car wreck that you just can't stop but jam traffic by looking at every time she gets out there. And there was she was on a podcast the other day. Well, actually multiple podcasts, and she was on this thing railing about, well, we have so many reasons we need to impeach President Trump.
Yeah.
So the guy asked her for 3.
Yeah.
And she started sounding like Wallace Shawn from Princess Bride. She started coming up with crazy sayings like, it's inconceivable and it's obvious. And he asked her for 3.
Yeah,
and
one. Give me one.
She couldn't give him any.
Yeah.
She was making up words. She sounded like Mike Tyson reading at the source. It was really sad. And it was like,
This word is sponsored by Urban Dictionary.
and that's where she's at. So they spent 20 minutes with her.
Yeah.
And got nothing out of the interview. So it got me looking at other videos of hers. And so she's been really famous for these low-angle Facebook videos.
Yeah.
And so we were talking earlier in pre-show. And I just had this image of her. She was on the floor, looked like she's feeding her cat or something. She was down and the camera's low and looking up at her. And it reminded me of the David Hasselhoff drunk cheeseburger episode.
Oh my God, that was so funny. When we were running that video, I'd forgotten how funny it was.
It was almost the same. It was every time I see that, I keep thinking of the ranting drunk guy on the floor making no sense.
The best part of that, just to keep railing on it, was him with that no shirt on and he slurps a French fry out of the side of his mouth. If you could have her do that, I guarantee you I'd watch that video every time.
I had never even seen that video till y'all started playing it. I thought I was like, why are we watching this homeless looking dude?
Yeah,
right.
And turned out that was Hasselhoff.
And that's why Germans love David Hasselhoff.
Oh yeah, man. You just that's like a Friday night in the homeland.
Oh yeah, no doubt, dude.
That's 4 a.m. in the homeland over there.
But yeah, she is that's such a train wreck. And to hear her rant on, and then if you're gonna suggest something like that, at least have a law that you could cite or something that's even close to it. And she's got nothing. You got no law that you can even come close to citing to impeach the man.
You got Schumer coming out saying, "Look, this whole thing about throwing impeachment around is just a bad idea." Okay, it really is. It's a bad idea. Well, one, he knows it could be thrown at him at any time too.
Oh yeah,
they're catching him into all kinds of stuff right now.
Right,
and so he's, so he even is wise enough to just shut his mouth.
For her, she almost that's kind of a bob and weave move for her because she can walk away from that interview and not really not have been held responsible for any claims that she made.
Right.
The Democrats really have a cat on a short leash with her. I mean, that's really how to look at it. It's like trying to walk a cat.
Well,
it really is.
It really is.
That's funny.
Looking at any of us. So we work for companies that would have a CEO.
Yeah.
Or president. We'll say president of the company.
Right.
So if I went on a public forum and was talking crap about my boss, I would expect to have some kind of like pink slip in my mailbox. I probably wouldn't even be allowed back in the office.
Yeah.
There would probably be 2 sheriff's officers at the front door with my box of stuff
waiting
with an envelope, and sending me down the road. And that's just kind of what we don't have with these people. I mean, she can literally run her mouth. I mean, it's gotten to the point now to where she's quit Facebook how many times?
A few. In this last rant, they're saying she quit at first. Graham, you had the skinny on why she really quit. I saw where she quit because of depression.
Yeah, so I like 3 or 4 days ago was the first article I saw where she said she was quitting because
it was because of the rail. It was because she's getting railed so hard.
Yeah, she was getting so much pushback from what she considered conservative talk show people, whatever. And
I'm tired of my stupid statements outing me.
With her, she said, this is kind of a weird tactic for me because I really use social media as a driving force to even get to the office that I'm holding now.
Right.
So her to do this about face, where getting off of social media is the wisest move for her. Then to see this other article that started showing up in my feeds about it causes depression, and I'm like, okay,
well, that's a handler.
Yeah.
So that's a handler getting involved.
Yeah, that's got to be what that is.
Oh, it clearly is, because she got elected with what, 15,000 votes?
16,000.
That's probably all of her Facebook followers.
Probably.
At the time. And
Yeah.
she's probably quadrupled now because
because all of us want to see the train wreck, like you said. Yeah.
So she goes out there and she makes a cognizant decision that, like, look, this isn't working out for me. I'm going to leave. Somebody says, oh, no, wait a minute. Let's take this and make an opportunity out of it.
Yeah.
So we start labeling now that you're causing, so the pressure she's getting is causing depression upon her well-being.
Now, she's quite active on Twitter, I will say that.
Oh, yeah, she is.
She's only highlighted Facebook, leaving Facebook.
Yeah.
The Twitter, she's on Twitter all the time.
That's probably because of the control metric that Twitter uses to punt people that say mean things. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Facebook really doesn't punt.
Playing
a
in a
whole lot of
backyard that actually supports
supports
It's a sanctuary for her, for sure. Yeah. Well, I it's funny because each week we just sit here and go, we're not going to mention her.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden she just pops out a gem that's got to be talked about.
It's when you're so comfortable in your own stupidity. I mean, how can you not comment on that?
I know.
She wears it like a jacket.
It's funny because it's fun to laugh at it, but it's also a tragedy because she's sitting in a room that's supposed to be full of intellect.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be full of well-being for the citizens of the United States of America. It's not like summer camp,
right?
Okay.
It's
summer camp.
Yeah, it's not like we sent you to band camp, sweetheart. You're actually there to know what the law is, and you're supposed to make this country better, not make it worse.
Well, which brings us back around to Facebook again. We might as well cover this while we're on that topic. Is the UK banning likes for children on Facebook? They don't want to see the likes. So, I mean, this kind of really rolls right into what she's quitting Facebook over.
Could be.
I mean, that's one of the potential. That's on the surface. That's what they're selling it as.
Did they give a definitive explanation of why they're doing that?
Because it's hurtful for children not to get likes. It's basically a self-image thing. It is. It's a self-image thing when you don't get the likes.
Okay.
Well, so I kind of deep dived this a little bit.
Right.
So, according to them, this is the UK and the body that was coming up with these decisions, is they were approaching it from, which you brought this up before we got online, was children's privacy. But I mean, it was from a pedophilia standpoint.
Right.
But I guess that's kind of a nice way of saying to children's privacy, because there's a lot of companies out there that bait these kids to use the apps and the different platforms out there to keep them hooked in.
Yeah.
So and that was something I got introduced to during this article, was something called nudge techniques, which basically was just something to keep people coming back to using it. And when I got into sort of their tactics for doing this, the thing that I agreed with was there are certain settings that were not available to the user, which now is going to be something that the user can say, or the responsible parent can go in and say, these are, this is how I'm going to protect my child. I'm going to use my parental controls and basically approach it this way, which I was like, that should have never been blocked from you to begin with.
Right. I was going to say, what was
and that's where
data mining. That's what that was.
Yes, and that's how this article was written, from a data mining standpoint.
So the news media portrayed it yesterday as, I was on the treadmill when this was breaking. The news media portrayed it as children are getting their feelings hurt by not getting likes. Now I can see where the dichotomy of this comes from. You wonder which one is actually true at the end of the day.
Well, now I was telling you offline, where I've basically been pulling my news, because last week we covered, I don't know who to trust, so therefore I'm going to pare down. So I go to UPI, API, and Reuters.
We could probably both be right, really, in the aspect of what we're
I
talking.
think
It was probably a
so from looking at it from the 30,000 foot view,
Yeah.
I think you're both absolutely correct because one leads into the other. So think about it this way. What's the best way to engage somebody? You either praise them up or you beat them down.
right.
So you learn a little bit about the personality of your prey by how you mess with them on social media. So you have to really sit there and take into account that there's no right or wrong answer here. This is basically this is eliminating opportunity for crime.
But and we also
overall.
live in an age where human trafficking is a very real
Absolutely.
thing. So they will use any kind of bait necessary.
Yeah. So if you take somebody that has self-esteem issues and you downgrade them,
Sure.
then you make a friend of them.
Yeah.
And then you bring them along. Or if there's somebody that's down and you bring them up, you're now a friend and you've introduced. So looking at it from like the trafficking aspect or kidnapping,
It could be very exploitive. I could see
it big time. So you can't just follow one track.
right.
And that's
Yeah.
something just kind of occurred to me is this last episode with Billions. Yes,
Yeah.
we're Billions fans.
I love that show.
Is you don't give the money back. Don't give the money
right.
back.
Wasn't that a classic scene?
Oh my
He
God.
hosed that dude massively. I don't know. You guys really, honestly, the Book of Axelrod is phenomenal.
Shit, yeah.
Because that guy, wow, just when you think you've seen the
That
most...
dude is a hell of a chess player.
He is. He really is. And it's one of those shows that I've been hooked on for, 4 seasons now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things to where it falls in also, too, with never leave any opportunity unexplored.
Sure.
Or unexploited in some cases. And so, so it's funny because, this is why we can't have nice things.
Every time.
This is exactly why. I mean, Facebook is supposed to be a fun, interactive thing. What do you get? You get people that fight over it. You get people that become predators over it. You get professional trollers that just spend all their day in the basement eating pizza rolls, beating up on people and
Fucking
comments.
get Reddit out of all this shit.
And so it's...
Well, and I see where the data mining's popped back up. They're coming back around to security and I think this is really being pushed more in Europe than it is here. Mm-hmm. That's the driving forces over in Europe, where they're going to severely limit data mining, where you own your own data,
And
that's a big push right now.
Their penalties for this
they're
stuff.
huge.
So
They'll put you out of business.
That was one of the things that got brought up in this new law that they're coming up, because it really has the companies that are in Silicon Valley worried.
Yeah.
Because they're not saying that the fine is going to be $5 million. It's like going to be a percentage of whatever your take is for a particular year.
I saw 10 was a number I saw on there.
I was like, that'll
10%
crush.
is
That's
huge.
crippling.
Yeah. And though, I mean, honestly, it's kind of weird, but when you push people into a corner, sometimes they got to come out fighting, and they got to come out fighting hard. I mean, there's no sense in sort of fighting.
Yeah.
Come out and make it very hard.
Come out to win. Exactly.
Yeah, you come out to win. And I can see why they're doing that. And I don't... again...
It's because the other side is pushed so hard the other direction.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like nobody can ever find a happy medium. And it's that level of...
Well, you can't give a criminal any ground to go to.
Yeah.
You have to take ground from them.
Inches or miles every time.
Yeah, and you got to run them out of that. And that's part of the problem is we have convinced ourselves that we can coexist with bad things.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's just not it. And social media multiplies it exponentially. I mean, we talked about this before on a social media format where back when you were in a group of kids in school and you had a disagreement, it may have been a handful of kids that would mess with you. Now it's thousands of people.
Yeah.
Once they blast you out on social media, you got people from all around the world coming down on you.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things to where you should know better and get away from it, but you don't. You obsess over the fact that people don't like me anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
You find an ally in somebody that not somebody that you share, a class with or anything. You share an ideology. That is your common ground. That's it.
And that's the sad thing about one-dimensional relationships.
Coming back around, that's funny you mentioned that, because that brings me back around to the guy I was listening to, the classical liberal in the news show. He was talking about how that was so controlling for him, how many likes he was getting and all that stuff. It just becomes such a controlling issue for him. It's amazing.
So it's funny when you watch people interact on social media and they throw something out there, and it's just, they don't even wait 10 minutes and they want to go see how many likes they got.
Yeah.
If you look at the Kardashians, they have made millions off of that.
Yep.
Because what they've done is they've amassed this huge network, which then attracts advertisers.
It's idea validation, and then how can I turn that into money?
For sure.
So
it's one of those things that it's a phenomena for sure of social media. It just makes me wonder what the next level of this is all going to be.
Yeah.
Because if it's all driven off social media, that's got to evolve.
Yeah, that's true.
So what's the next evolution?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I don't know, but I want to be invested in it when it comes out.
Well, let's go back a little bit and let's talk about some news that's been happening this week, and let's talk about the Notre Dame.
I was going to say, speaking of things being on fire,
the cathedral in Notre Dame was. I know, right? Well, no, it was an interesting thing to wake up to.
Yeah,
it was kind of bizarre to watch this monument of religion that's been in France for a long time. Was it 800 years?
800 plus years.
Yeah, 800 years
survived
old.
bombings and wars, and the town's been on fire before. I mean,
and in this one here, what was funny is, so over the years they've been having a lot of cracking in
it was under renovation. It was under renovation.
They had structural issues, and they decided, let's just go ahead and dig into it now.
Yeah,
and then that's when this all went south. And it's interesting because, when it was first going down, if you looked at the scale of the fire, you'd swear there'd be nothing left. But what people forget was that's a giant stone box.
Yeah, it's basically the wood inside it. Think it's an oven if you really look at it.
Yeah, it's a stone box with a wooden roof on it with a bunch of plaster and stuff.
And the thing that's crazy is, the when you're looking at the video of the news covering it,
right,
and you see the highest point, the steeple part
of the spire,
the spire, when it is in flames, and this you see this the whatever it's at the top, the steeple part, whatever that brass or whatever that thing comes crashing down.
Oh yeah,
I mean, that alone is just. You don't have to describe what it is. It's the most iconic part of the cathedral.
Oh yeah,
and you see it falling in flames. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah,
it's pretty crazy. It's funny because when you look at what that building's been through and how many. I mean, it's owned by the Vatican, right? It's owned by the Catholic Church, right? And so this is a building that's probably housed
at least a hunchback.
Yeah, at least the hunchback for sure. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's all the artifacts, all the religious artifacts have been there. I mean, think about it. Napoleon had ceremonies there, and so
there was a crown. There was some sort of crown that survived out. I saw him presenting that to the Pope the other day. It was a religious artifact from medieval. times.
They were scrambling to get stuff out of there.
They got some of it out.
Now a lot of the frescoes and all the paintings, I'm sure, are damaged beyond repair.
Yeah, probably.
Now they made it sound like they were able to salvage quite a bit of stuff.
Yeah.
Only because the renovation was going on, so they wanted that stuff
coming out
removed.
Anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
What I thought was interesting. So in the aftermath, when they're shooting an angle, you got to keep in mind it was an overcast day and they're shooting from a low angle, so it made this thing look like a huge heap of burning rubbish.
Ominous, very ominous.
Yeah, ominous looking. So when you get above it and look down into it, you can clearly see where it collapsed in on itself and was just burning inside this chimney.
Gotcha.
Basically. But what I thought was funny was they've turned in the renovation. They've turned to a video game company that did the Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, it wasn't me.
Because the Assassin's Creed, what they said was that the modeling, the 3D modeling that the people did to make the cathedral in Assassin's Creed, they
spot on.
Spot on. It was like perfect.
So they're going to be able to recreate this
recreate it.
Yeah. So
the inside, everything, the art,
awesome.
everything. Yeah.
But from I guess
it's probably the most photographed building over there.
Yeah.
Too.
But if you were going to try to, at the conspiratorial side of you, if you wanted to check the accuracy of what you're looking at when you walk inside of Notre Dame, and if you find an avenue that doesn't require you to go into a building, but you can actually just pop in a video game and then basically just scan around the room, you can do all your homework there.
By the way, you just gave Dan Brown his new book right there. There's going to be at least 3 books coming out.
That's true.
I love Dan Brown.
Yeah, I know. He's a good writer.
So what's funny, so you talk about virtual reality. I say this is way back in the early birth of virtual reality, where we used to set up warehousing for grocery warehousing and food distributors.
Yeah.
We literally can do a virtual walkthrough.
Yeah, fly through.
Yeah, of a facility where you literally are walking in the facility.
That's cool.
And looking and touching. It went to the farthest to the reach part. Now, it was the early technology.
Right.
But you can literally go into these rooms now and look at a virtual layout of any building you want. I mean, the 3D, well, you know, look at all the 3D scanning that's available now.
Sure.
They can literally set a orb in the middle of the room and digitize everything in the room and recreate everything. So, I mean, they've got, if any time, there is no good time for this to happen, but if there ever was, probably the technology's there to get this building probably better than what it was.
Yeah.
And maybe it'll last for another 800 years.
Well, now the one of the things that I read in one of the articles is they're trying to keep they want the craftsmanship to mirror what the craftsman did 800 years ago. They're trying to keep that authenticity there.
Sure.
So now you run into this thing of, well, who knows how to do craftsmanship that's 800 years old?
You can't beat 5 axis.
Oh, call some millennials.
No,
They'll know how to do it.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I'm telling you right now, cost and efficiency is going to be 5 axis machines.
Yeah.
Because the CAD, you can take a photograph and make a CAD now off of it.
You can take a 2D drawing. You can take a 2D drawing and make it 3D now. I've done that just with my little 3D printer. It's amazing what you can do.
So I think because I read something similar along the basic architecture, but I can tell you that the cost effectiveness, and honestly too, you're going to be bringing people from basically Southeast Asia over to do this shit, from Thailand or wherever those guys are that are actually the dudes that still do this.
Yeah.
I mean, think about the only really religion that you look at on the planet Earth that builds things the old school way is going to be the Buddhists.
Buddhist, Zoroastrian.
Yeah. You look at those because that's just how they are. And I just don't think you're going to get them to walk into because the Catholic Church is kind of like the last thing they want to see in their territory.
Right. What do you think that's going to cost, though? What do you thinking money-wise it's going to cost to renovate this thing? Have they figure out yet?
So they've got and this is where it's going to turn into a big mess.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get, because I've been going through this thing in my head about the cost of things nowadays.
Right.
And it's just ridiculous. Everybody goes, well, it's supply and demand. You know what? Shove that up your ass. This is a church.
Yeah.
Here I am cussing and talking about a church.
Damn it, it's a church.
Yeah, damn it, it's a church. But it's a church. It's something that's been there for a long time.
Sure.
I'm kind of thinking that it's not beyond a crusader to say, fuck you.
Exactly. Yeah. There you go. Exactly. Yeah, wrong choice. Fuck you. Yeah. So, when you look at the billions of dollars that have already been, or euros, however they're calling it over there, you have all these multimillionaires that are donating money to it. But what I've seen eke out into the polling in the United States is, would you support the United States sending money to fund the rebuilding of the church? And they're talking about from the government level. They're talking about from the taxpayers level.
Money you took out of my pocket.
Yeah, and
something that an administration can say, my administration paid X amount of dollars.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is France. Okay. Yeah. Remember, how many times have we bailed France out? And how many times has France stabbed us in the back? But
Every time.
Let's ignore the fact that this isn't a French property.
Yeah.
This is sovereign property of the Vatican. Which is the richest real estate holders in the world.
Yeah. Right.
They are by far.
You've got some money to pay for this.
There's money there. And there's enough buildings around the world that they're not using that I bet you those artifacts start showing up in this
all the Catholic Church can just do an extra collection every Sunday.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So it brings me to the media or the mass mania here in the United States where they're polling. Would you donate your hard-earned cash to this rebuild of the Vatican?
Yeah.
Or not the Vatican, Notre Dame, the cathedral. Right. And so
they don't say your cash. They say tax. Well, they don't use taxes.
They do, but they're also saying you as a private citizen.
Right.
Because there's GoFundMes now.
Yeah.
So almost every
it's over $1 billion. I know that.
Sure.
The GoFundMe's over $1 billion.
Yeah, and it's so you're looking at this money going into it.
Who's running the GoFundMe?
There's a French billionaire that. So
he's the one who set it up.
That's what I'm understanding.
Okay, I read that.
Is it not Selma Hayek's husband?
I'll go with whoever you tell me.
I think that's who's the first guy that did this. Was the first one to do. The first one to step up with money. I believe that's who it is. And I think that's cool. If you're moved,
all for it.
If you have the means, and you feel like giving it, who am I to tell you what to do with it? But as a taxpayer, in the United States of America, from a government that is known to be not thrifty with our money.
Yeah.
We have a border crisis. We have a Social Security issue. We have veterans not being taken care of, and we have infrastructure issues.
About 1 million other things we could pay for.
We could be paying money for, yeah. Now, here's the thing. If we spayed and neutered liberals, we wouldn't have all this waste of money.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that, you know what I mean? Just keep them in check.
Yeah,
They're stewards of our money.
I was breaking out my knife.
I know. Well, and we should, because
In the
social
ether.
programs, for sure. we turn into Dexter all of a sudden.
You hold him down while he screams.
Yeah,
I'll do the cutting.
It's funny because this is where you start looking at the responsibility of irresponsible social programs.
Yeah.
Where this money goes. I mean, at the end of the day, if we're wasting money on teaching streetwalkers in San Francisco about sex
blowjobs,
whatever it is.
Yeah.
I mean, did you read that list that came out the other day of all that crazy shit that we're wasting money on?
Yeah.
It was just unbelievable. And we're spending money on like
hookers in China. I mean, it's crazy.
How to get a frog to cross the street without getting hit by a car. That's about as ridiculous
Almost
as it
thought
gets.
this was a lead into the blowjob machine.
Right, I know, right? Yeah, okay, so we will get to that because I know he's been waiting to do this.
Yeah.
We did not deliberately put it on our schedule.
That was just a joke.
I was trying to
Because
dodge
we
that
knew.
bullet, but here we are.
But here we are. So there's the machine. Go ahead. I mean, it's
It
funny.
really was a joke, but
It's
I mean,
funny
we do have a
because-
game builder here, so
Yeah, I ain't building
Hey,
that,
I was
dude.
like, I want a blowjob machine inside of a wine barrel.
Put that in a barrel? I'm not building it.
So Sam's going to show up with rubber gloves.
Yeah.
And a barrel and some shit. Oh my God.
The Suckinator 5000.
Oh my
I like
God.
that. The suckinator. The suckinator.
The things that people, and this is again why we can't have nice things. The people in this world who invented that, it was Japanese, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Chinese,
Chinese. I
or
think.
Japanese.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chinese.
But isn't it like a street vending machine?
I don't. So,
Seriously. 'Cause
honestly,
they have a urinal. Did you see in Europe?
I did.
They have a urinal that's it's like a stall, and you just walk up. It's not even private.
Yeah.
It's just enough to cover your hoo.
You drop trowel and,
and
go.
you go in this thing.
who?
Yeah. Well, I'm
You
trying
a
to.
Wiener?
chick?
He's wiener.
Yeah. Okay.
You
Whatever.
stick your wiener.
Whatever. So
That's funny.
It is.
I liked it.
So you go in there and you show this. You're taking a piss in this thing.
Yeah.
It's a public urinal, and it's literally an open public urinal. So why wouldn't we have a blowjob machine?
Exactly.
You know?
But I'm not, I mean, who wants to be sloppy seconds on that deal?
Yeah.
That was my next question. Who gets the sanitation contract? Who's the guy that has to clean that shit
like,
up?
hey,
That's part of your public service.
It's like,
Exactly.
right there.
why does that guy have a toilet brush walking around?
That is so freaking gross.
Can you see the mess? So the next
Anyway,
business,
we
next
get-
business would be to have a coin operated condom machine
Yeah.
next to this thing, right? So it's like a meter maid. So what happens if you stay on this thing longer than your
Intended purpose?
Does it like clamp down and hold you till an officer of the law shows up to haul you away?
Something that holds you there and says, "Please insert an extra 35
Yeah.
cents."
What's your Johnson worth?
Oh my God. I just
You know what? That's not a bad marketing scheme we got there.
it's not, yeah.
Those things up.
The Hank Johnson.
Starts off at a quarter. To leave, it's a little bit more.
We'll call it the Hank Johnson.
But okay, so Hank Johnson,
Yeah.
Is that what we're gonna call the thing, the Hank Johnson?
Yeah.
But Ken had
This is
some.
like spin the wheel.
Ken had some really good information about the good old Hank Johnson.
Again.
Okay.
So. No, we
ahead.
were talking about with Hank Johnson and Guam. But
Yeah.
the other thing that he got.
What, the Hitler thing? Where he got up and called, basically gave the Hitler speech on Trump?
Was that the? He says so many stupid things.
I know, yeah. So you got to, because I've paraphrased so many things that crazy guy's done.
Oh my God.
I mean, the funniest one was that Guam was going to tip. I thought that was classic.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to explain to him what an island is, I guess.
Yeah. No,
But yeah, he got up there and he was railing on how damaging Trump was. I mean, he literally sounded like somebody that was having a drunk moment
Yep.
on the floor of Congress.
He sounds constantly drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does. And well, he's from Georgia, so I mean, maybe there's something to that. But well, again, here's another guy that I don't know how he got in. I mean, what are his credentials, first of all, and then second of all, the minute he opens his mouth, you should be going, no. It should be like American Idol.
Yeah.
The guy in charge of the committee should be like Simon Cowell.
Right.
And you should-
instant gut reaction.
And you
Shut
should have
this down.
You should have 3 stars across the top, and when
Yeah.
he get up there and start speaking, ding, 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 3 X's and you're out.
Now, I think
done.
the Family Feud.
Yeah, there you go. And then add the gong show in. When you don't leave, the guy with the big hook comes out and drags your ass off the floor.
Now that would be funny if there was somebody who did the gong inside the inside of the Senate.
chambers. Yeah. Well, they have Sergeant at Arms, and
but he doesn't have a gong.
I know,
but he does have a gun.
But we can get him one.
Yeah.
I mean, I would personally I'd just go down to the music store and get a big fucking cymbal.
Yeah.
And get a big old padded hammer and just let him go at it. Because I tell you, that's what we need. I mean, literally, it's funny that we went down that road. Because honestly, the chairman needs to sit there and say, "No, next."
Yeah.
And boot you off. This whole rules of committee thing has gotten a little bit out of hand because they don't follow it anyway.
No.
I mean, especially the Democrats. The Democrats never concede any of the minutes, and they always overrun the minutes.
Yeah.
And they spend more time saying, quit interrupting me, excuse me.
Or give me my minutes
Give me my
back.
minutes back. Yeah. They don't, and so everybody else has to sit there impatiently because they don't want to be railed in the news as being a racist or an anti-feminist or difficult, whatever. And so, I think those kind of rules, since we're moving in the direction of progress, how about just buzzer? Remember Hollywood Squares? Where you that guy was eliminated and you made his square dark?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they black him out.
Black out the square.
That's right. I'd forgotten about that.
I mean, that would be the way to do it. I mean, just sit there and just add some entertainment. That would get you to watch C-SPAN more.
Howard Cosell's drunk. We're going to go ahead and black his square out today.
We talked about Will Ferrell. Will Ferrell as Harry Carey.
Oh yeah, that'd be perfect.
That would be him narrating.
Would you eat the moon if it was made of green cheese?
Hey,
or his Alec Trebek.
Yes.
Would be even better.
Classic.
That way he can moderate the Senate and Congress hearings as Alec Trebek. I mean, might as well. It's that much of a comedy anyway.
It's true.
I mean, it really is. If you've ever watched that bullshit, I mean, the biggest polarizing thing in my life and my professional career has been in non-productive meetings.
Okay.
There's nothing worse than being trapped in a room with a bunch of hot air that is just being expressed. If I want that, I'm going to go stand in a field full of California dairy cows, and let the flatulence fly.
Yeah, just waft it in.
At least I can see clouds and grass and water. I don't have to sit in these dark halls and listen to a bunch of bloviated, clopated, nonsensical politicians talk about jack shit, get nothing done, waste millions of dollars, and produce nothing.
Right.
So anyway, that's my run on that.
Speaking of stupid falling into black holes like neutrinos, how about the Grand Canyon stuff? That's been entertaining to watch
tell you
here
what.
as of late.
Yeah, so let's go back a little bit. There was a teenage girl that discovered the mathematical algorithm to discover a black hole.
Right.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
You remember that?
Yes.
I mean, it's
just
supposedly
just recent.
Last week, the one that there was like 9 different satellites.
Well, you had that. Well, you had that, and then you had the actual discovery of that. I can't remember the name of the telescope. They had a telescope, a radio telescope, take the first actual picture of a black hole.
Right.
This is all kind of coalesced at the same time.
Big time. And so what's really funny is now that we're not saying that anything's related.
Right.
We just find it ironic that the Grand Canyon's been hitting the news lately.
Right. And the theory goes is there's a black hole at the bottom of the Grand Canyon, and neutrinos actually represent stupidity. So that's how these people are getting sucked into the bottom of the Grand Canyon.
So we got to looking at the numbers, and so we have a theory.
Yeah.
Okay, there's been 800 deaths since the 1800s.
Late 1800s.
Yeah, recordings of 1800s
right.
of 800 deaths or more. And it's funny, 200. It's not funny, but 275.
We're going to laugh at it. It's not funny.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, 275 of those are a result of aerial crashes.
Yeah,
which are the helicopters that usually fly in from Las Vegas, fly over. So my niece was proposed to that way.
Okay.
So her husband did I love the guy, but he's making romance hard for everybody else.
Okay.
So what he did basically is he arranged for lunch on this peak that overlooked this beautiful canyon area.
Okay.
But it was only accessible by helicopter. So they flew in, landed, and they were served food, and he proposed, and it was this romantic, and they flew off. But you hear of stories of that not working out for a lot of people.
And now you're stuck on a peak with somebody that doesn't want to marry you.
Or they crash into the side of inside of the canyon because the winds can get really tricky down there. And so so they have 275 aerial crashes. They're saying that's on an average of 12 deaths per year in the Grand Canyon. The parks, the U.S. Parks does not put this number out, but it's been kind of collect. I know, right?
So it's like bad advertising.
Yeah, it's really bad for the brochures, right? And so
if you feel like jumping, come here.
Well, and that's the other thing. So what ends up happening is that they have 125 falls recorded.
Right.
64 of them are from the rim, and 61 of them are from within the canyon themselves.
Like 25 of them are at least on YouTube.
Right, yeah.
A lot of what we checked out were people trying to take pictures. And the idiots stumble. So if you're clumsy, probably not a good vacation spot for you.
That whole, there's a thing called a selfie stick, and they can reach way out and get one of those. But what's interesting is they built this observation deck that's up there for your safety.
Right.
And so there's guardrails, and that's not good enough. We have to get up on those.
That's not safe enough.
Yeah. So you have to. The people have been falling off from leaning over.
Right. So we need a tether. Now we need a tether that you
for
can
sure.
clip onto.
I think a
for
bungee.
Fat people. Bungee.
Unintentional bungee jumping.
Right.
Would be.
That is okay. That's funny.
a YouTube. That's
that
a YouTube show.
Funny.
Yeah,
okay.
we call it unintentional, and so we set up GoPros in an array all around here, and say, if you want to take a photo, you have to wear this harness.
Right.
And then what ends up happening is you just push.
Oh yeah. And then you have like the crap, what they call the crap cam at the bottom.
Right.
So when they get to the very, end of the bungee, you can see them crap themselves.
Right. Yeah.
You see the brown spot.
Yeah,
that's it.
The brown camera. That's the word.
Just wear your brown clothes that day.
Yeah.
Instead of the brown note, it's the brown film. Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's funny. So they have that, but the one we thought was the most hilarious was there were 25 homicides committed there since the 1800s.
Right.
And the one that we thought was funny was there's this dude that took his third wife out there. And he decided he was going to push her off.
Right.
And she was going to
stage it. It was going to make it look like she jumped.
Like she jumped. And so they arrested him.
This person wasn't from Utah or anything.
It's hard to say.
You never know.
It's hard to say.
When you say third wife and you're in that area, it could go either way.
It can go either way, yeah. So when they finally arrested him, he admitted to the fact that
he murdered
her. And they asked him what was it? Why? He goes, because it was cheaper than a divorce.
It was easier and cheaper than a divorce.
He's got a point. He's got a point.
God. So so the Grand Canyon. So we feel. Okay, just bear with us here.
Yeah, it was the third. It was the third most dangerous. I think is how it was rated.
So so what we're going to do? So what they did is they ranked parks. U.S. parks by their danger level. We thought for sure that we had the right answer, but we're going to tell you what they say. So they're saying that Yosemite.
Yeah.
And I can get that because they have bears and cougars.
Get eaten by the wildlife.
Yeah, eaten by the wildlife. And plus people fall.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Now you're talking my language.
That's when you take them over to the Grand Canyon.
That's where you go. So you have people that do a lot of free climbing over there, and a lot of rope, a lot of climbing. So I can see that happening. So the second one was the Lake Mead. Lake Mead complex. That was. Then the third one was Grand Canyon, but we think they were wrong.
Yeah, Central Park.
Yeah, Lake Mead, Hoover Dam.
Okay.
That area over there, because people hit structures, they drown. That because think about they have these huge string. Yeah, Havasu. They have the big spring break parties.
Yeah, that's the party. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can see that happening.
Stupid comes in many forms.
It does, and over there it's not fun to be there. Everybody thinks it's a cool venue to go to, but I went one time. It's not fun.
Yeah,
it's not fun at all because there's a lot of aggressive drunk behavior that you don't see.
Yeah,
it doesn't make good. Oh yeah, it's really bad. It's fights. I mean, really bad fights.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Like on the road before you even get there.
I want to say that's where old Tommy and Pam Lambert.
There was before they did their famous video.
Yeah,
they did that in the off season though. Yeah, it was funny.
But no, my number one.
Yeah,
pick
the number one
was
pick.
Central Park. I could have swore that would have been the park where everybody dies. When you think about it, crackheads, muggers.
Oh my God, yeah.
I mean, how many crackhead deaths exist in Central Park?
Like,
you know what I mean?
And it's kind of in a canyon.
It's
in a canyon of tall buildings.
Yeah. I mean, I would have sworn that
I think that's a legit. I think that's a legit.
I think I'm getting ripped here. I really think I'm right on the count here. I don't think they're counting it.
So New York is manipulating the data so they don't get bad advertising.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. They don't want to give Chicago a run for their money because that would just be bad. But so we think that if you're planning a trip, the Grand Canyon would be a good place to go.
Right.
Okay. Just be careful.
Yeah.
I've had friends that hiked it, and they tell me how exhilarating and fun it is. Quite honestly.
Yeah. Just don't. Like I said, just don't go if you're clumsy. If you're clumsy, stay away.
Yeah, I'll take your word for it. I'm personally not going to do that. They say it's 27. It's a 27-mile hike.
Yeah.
From the rim to the bottom. and in the summer it can get as hot as 120 degrees in the canyon floor.
They had a couple of people die of thirst. That kind of
dehydration.
Yeah, dehydration. And it's like, isn't the bottom of that thing all water?
Well, it is, but you have to get to the bottom.
Yeah. Well, obviously, some people have done it before. I mean,
right.
You can get to the bottom.
You got 120 something have done it before.
You can do a controlled descent or an out of control descent.
Right. That's true. Yeah, a lot of people. So marathoners, there's a few marathoners that try to make that 27-mile run, and they realize that you physically can't carry enough water.
Yeah, to do
keep you hydrated on that hike. And so honestly, I mean, in a serious moment, the best way to do it is to take the mule train down.
Yeah,
it really is, because mules are sure-footed. They're the best for that type of trail riding, and they generally are on safer trails.
You noticed that wasn't one of the categories, death by mule.
Not at all. So, not at all. It has happened.
I'm sure,
but those animals don't misstep. I mean, that's why they've been used for all these years for those kind of things. So if you're going to go do it that way, do not go with a bunch of friends thinking it's just going to be a day trip up and down the thing.
Going.
It's a full day down. It's a full day up. It's not an easy trip.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful place. Just be wary of the black hole at the bottom.
Yeah, and all the stupid that it's sucking in.
Right.
So we might as well wrap this up with the stupidity of the day. The Finnish dude that got his testicles stuck in a chair.
So what he did is, the dude bought a chair from IKEA that it's a round stool with a bunch of holes in it of different sizes. And so on the surface, you're thinking,
it looks like a fitting room for your balls already.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of that game when you were a kid where you have the marble and you have to roll around to avoid the hole.
Oh
yeah, to avoid the hole. That's the game. I forget what that's called, but it's a lot like that. So what you don't know about the story is that he stuck this seat in his shower.
Right.
He put it on the surface. You're reading it, going, "Who sits in a chair with their balls hanging through this chair?" Right. Well, it ended up being in the shower. And
Spin McNuttonfish or whatever his name was.
As he was describing his experience in his letter to IKEA, he basically got it to sit in a shower, and apparently, the hot water made him hang and fall through the holes. And as he ran out of hot water,
It got back up. Yep.
And so it was, he basically got stuck in the chair. So facing impending peril.
Yeah.
He was contemplating all kinds of alternative ways to do it. He thought it might be a good idea just to get a blow dryer.
Right. In the shower.
Yeah, and heat his apparatus.
Right.
Until it literally fit through the hole.
Right.
And I'm going, dude, this is like crazy.
Well, that's so backwards, because generally when you heat stuff up,
you're
not going to get it on. Exactly.
It expands, yeah. You want a handful of ice, right?
Science doesn't work that way in his head.
Yeah.
Right. Apparently not.
Literally.
Yeah. So he finally escapes. I think he's lying.
Yeah.
By the way, I think the guy's lying.
Yeah. I think he's looking.
He's just chasing a check.
He's fishing for us too.
There was 15 holes in the chair. I think he found 15 dates.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And it's like
you know that's what happened.
Yeah. What happens if I put it
Helga.
here?
That's Helga.
What if I put it here? I've always liked redheads. It was a red stool, right?
Exactly.
So IKEA basically replies to his letter.
Which was the best part of this whole story.
It's just like one short sentence. Take the stool out of the shower.